Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about longevity. What can you do to live longer? That's something that all of us are worried about, but not just living longer, living a quality life as you get older, living healthy. And we have come up with 5 main things that you can do to live a healthy, longer life. We'll go through each one with you. And the first one we're going to talk about today is sleep. Dr. Peter, you have a lot of thoughts about sleep. What do you think?
I do. Sleep is so underestimated. We don't even truly value the power of sleep. And so sleeping is a process of when your body shuts down and repairs itself from all the inflammation that's built up through the day. And we know that people who get less than 6 hours of sleep a night actually are increased risk of heart disease. And the main reason why is because your body hasn't repaired itself from inflammation. Inflammation wreaks havoc on the blood vessels. It puts you at risk for heart attacks, strokes, many other disease states. It changes your cholesterol to a worse form. And people, if you've been out there and have really not had a good night's sleep, you just realize how even missing one night can make you feel so awful, right?
Oh, that's so true. That's absolutely true. Now, there's a lot you can do to improve your sleep. The big thing we talk about when we talk about sleep is we talk about sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is extremely important. And what that is it's going through a series of things to make sure that you are in the best position possible to be able to fall asleep and stay asleep. So some of those things include making sure you're not watching a device. That light that can come off of a device like a phone or a TV or a computer can decrease the levels of melatonin, which are very important in helping you fall asleep and stay asleep. We want you to be in a cold, dark room. It's interesting, being cold and being in a very dark room seems to be extremely helpful for falling asleep and staying asleep. So those are really important things you can do. There are other things you can do as well to make sure that you are in the best position to be sleeping. That is limiting caffeinated beverages close to sleep. That's limiting water intake close to sleep so you don't get up and pee multiple times. And limiting alcohol close to sleep can be very helpful.
That's so true. So we know that limiting certain rays of light like blue light. So if people use their devices at night, they're getting more blue light exposure, which totally disrupts the body's hormones. Melatonin, I think melatonin is a great supplement to take. That's what I take, 3 to 5 milligrams. It helps you fall asleep faster. But if you do wake up like I am in the middle of the night and you want to fall back a lot easier as long as you don't grab your phone or smart device is melatonin. Interesting, we've talked previously, Ben, about nightmares. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that because I just found that really, really fascinating.
We did do a podcast on that. There was a article that was published, I think it was in the New York Times, about nightmares specifically and how it had an effect on longevity and illness. It was unclear from the study whether or not it was the nightmares themselves that were disrupting sleep and causing an increase in illness, or whether it was an illness itself that was manifesting itself by increased nightmares. But either way, when somebody was having nightmares very regularly, we were a few times a week or even weekly, it showed that there was an increased mortality, which was really quite fascinating.
I think it's a twofold approach. I think it's really the increase in sympathetic drive, which is your sympathetic stress system, which is a cortisol level that surges when people are not feeling well, feeling stressed or in an unhealthy state, as opposed to your parasympathetic, which is your peaceful response. So people who get nightmares have increased cortisol surges. And also they're probably not sleeping well from a number of different things as well, or increased nightmares from alcohol use, which we know disrupts. It's an easy fix, which people fall asleep faster, but it totally disrupts sleep patterns. But there are ties with nightmares, and people having recurrent nightmares sometimes being at more increased risk of heart disease than sometimes even smoking, which is crazy, right, to think.
Well, it's clear. Sleep is absolutely mandatory. And if you're not getting it, you need to think about ways that you can improve your sleep. And we will walk through a few other ways that are going to improve your longevity, but also probably improve sleep as well. So the next one is exercise. Exercise, we've talked about a million times. It is so important. If you're not exercising, you are not doing something that is absolutely mandatory for your body, mandatory for so many different components to function properly. Peter, you exercise very regularly, correct?
Oh, the power of exercise is amazing. And I always tell patients, the key to longevity is not medications. or doctors, the key to longevity is regular low impact exercise and keeping lean muscle mass, which we'll go back to in a second. So exercising does a lot of different things. It's great for your mental health. It reduces your cortisol levels. It reduces inflammation in your body. And we know that inflammation wreaks havoc on the endothelium or the lining of the blood vessels, which causes high blood pressure. It causes increased plaque development from cholesterol that's been made a stickier form from oxidization, from inflammation of the body. So exercise also keeps up and maintains lean muscle mass, especially as you get older. If you have a fall, you have a better chance of recovering. You have less of a chance of having a fall if you're exercising regularly, and less of a chance of fractures because, and more than I do, Ben, is about increased bone density in people who exercise regularly.
Yeah, and so we're talking about cardio as well as strength. Strength is underrated and extremely important. Doing some degree of strength exercises is just absolutely incredibly important. It's important for the bone density, but you're absolutely right. It's important for core strength, and that protects you from falls as well as so many other things that can occur. So, exercise in general, cardio as well as strength, absolutely mandatory, has to be part of what you do. Socialization, that is a new one, or sorry, not a new one, but another one that we should be talking about. And socialization is something that really we learned a lot about during the pandemic and how being isolated and not having any interaction with anyone else, what that can do to you. And we learned a lot about that and its effects on the population. Yeah.
That is so true. And so we say socialization, it's going out for happy hour and going to bars, but it's really connecting with people throughout your life who you've really felt connected to. And maybe it's someone out there that you haven't talked to in a while, but we do know that regular sort of emotional contact or regular socialization with people, whether it's a drink here and there or going for a walk together, really helps increase longevity and increase health span. All right. So quality of life as opposed to just the quantity. And it probably is linked to decreased depression. We know that increased isolation can lead to depression and increased stress as well. And so there's multiple different factors that play a role here, but it really is. And we looked at a lot of other cultures in the world, which we see it throughout where socialization plays such an important role.
We are a social species. I think that it is important that to some degree we're involved in some sort of social interaction with each other. And this can vary very dramatically in terms of how we choose to do this. But connecting with people, I think, is very important. And then, as always, of course, we're going to talk about diet. That is one of the main things that upsets us, that does not get enough respect in the medical world, that you do not get told enough about. So we tell you about it very much. But diet, of course, is going to affect your longevity. What you put in your body is, of course, going to affect how well you live and how long you live. What kind of things should people not be eating?
As a cardiologist, the focus has always been in the past, and it's, I think, completely outdated this time, is a low-fat diet. And I think how it should be rebranded as is a low inflammatory diet. So we know that inflammation is linked to heart disease. Decreased inflammation is linked to longevity. Processed foods, carbs, high fructose corn syrup. Look at the labels of foods that you're eating. A lot of foods now are not made with olive oil or other cold pressed oils. Are made from highly refined oils, like highly refined seed oils. Peanut butter can be palm oil and sugar. It's not even true peanut butter anymore. And so there's just lots of different foods. That is just one example of a lot of the oils nowadays are refined with hexane and some other chemicals that just causes oxidization. And oxidization, again, it links back to worsening the quality of your cholesterol, change it to a more stickier form, which translates to sticking out the arteries, increased risk of heart attack, increased risk of stroke.
So the old food pyramid, maybe not the best thing to follow. Low inflammatory, low sugars, which we know are pro-inflammatory. That's what we should be focusing on. Whole foods, very important. We're talking about vegetables, fruits, even meats are fine, but whole foods. So anything you're eating that's processed, danger, danger.
Good quality protein. We talked about how lean muscle mass is a predictor of longevity. And I tell my patients how your plate should look is protein, plants, and carbs last. And if you follow that mantra, and portion control and staying hydrated is so important for body function, for processing every single biochemical process is dependent on hydration as well. And it's so important.
Completely agree. And the last but not least, stress. Now, stress can be involved in any of these because stress can be caused or be alleviated by doing these, caused by not doing these sometimes. But stress can come to us from so many different avenues. And stress is kind of a guarantee in life. You're going to come across stressful events. You're going to go through stressful things that happen in your life. But it is how you deal with stress that will define whether you are able to be someone who is able to live in a successful way for a long time, or whether you succumb to many of the different unfortunate, stressful events that happen in your life. I think if you're listening to this, I bet you have a good way to deal with stress. But if you don't, let's talk about some ways you can deal with stress.
Yeah, we know that stress is always going to be there. You can't, it's really hard to get rid of stress. It's about managing stress. And again, we know that stress just wreaks havoc on the body. And we know that mental health and physical health are so interconnected. And I think that as a doctor and all the years I've been practicing it becomes ever so important that you can't ignore mental health and the stress that's involved in that.
That's exactly right. And these are all intertwined, right? So exercising regularly, we know, decreases stress. Having a good diet that's based in or foods that are not pro-inflammatory can decrease stress. We know that having activities, things you like to do, that focus your mind, that keep you away from perseverating on things that can really upset you is very important. So we know that those kind of things can be used to decrease your stress levels, and you should focus on that. You should pay attention to it. I don't think we talk about it enough in medicine, how important stress is. The body-mind connection is enormous. It also is not stressed enough in medicine. And people that pay attention to this and try to decrease their stress, I think will find they have a much more balanced life, and they find that they are much happier.
Absolutely. Everything we talked about, Ben, plays a role in developing stress. You are what you eat. If you don't exercise, your body is your temple. If you don't treat it right, it's not going to react well to stress. You're going to get ill a lot faster. And so what I really want to end on this from my perspective is that nothing that we've talked about here is extreme. And what I've learned from all my patients that have lived into their 80s and 90s and sometimes over 100 with a really great health span, a really amazing quality of life is consistency. It wasn't that they had to be running marathons or doing these extreme things. I think people always think that you have to do all these extreme things to live a long, happy, healthy life, but it's consistency. It's walking regularly, low impact exercise, eating healthy, all the things we just talked about, not just doing it for New Year's resolution, not just doing it because you have a doctor's visit coming up in a couple months. It's consistency.
I couldn't agree more. It's the decisions you make every single day. Every day is a struggle to make sure you are doing the right things, but that struggle gets easier as they become a habit. So sleep, exercise, socialization, diet, and stress. These are very important things. Please do your best to try to take care of all of these things to the best of your ability. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you keep coming back to see us. Please leave comments below about how you feel about all this, what you're currently doing to achieve these measures. And please check out our health and wellness store at ohiwellness.com if you're in the USA, ohiwellness.co if you're in the UK. We produce products that we think will help you on your journey. And be well. Come back and see us soon.